with the first official video in my like tropes series, and a Murphy cat is coming to visit me. Hello, Murphy cat. Anyways, so it's the first video in the trope series, and I wanted to start by talking about one of my favorite tropes, and that is a marriage of convenience. And I will say, I don't think I mentioned this in the introduction. Obviously, in a lot of books you have tropes that are like combined and there's overlapping characteristics. Like, I do feel like this trope often has some of the same characteristics as friends to lovers, which I will probably talk about next month. But, you know, try and break it down a little bit. So, a marriage of convenience, it's not just a trope, it's like an actual thing. Like, I mean, I guess that's all tropes are kind of actual thing. I mean, they're like words and phrases independently. A marriage of convenience is defined as a marriage entered into for personal or family advantage, social, political, or financial, usually without love and sometimes without sexual relations expectations. It is incredibly common in historical romances, and it is where I think it works the best is historicals. But you do see it in contemporaries as well. Historicals, where you see it a lot is with people who need to marry either for like an heir or for money. A lot of times maybe like you have a aristocrat that is down on his luck, so he has to marry that rich girl that nobody really likes or something, you know, that kind of story. And women a lot of times will enter into marriages of convenience for safety or to escape a difficult situation, which I guess is safety. But you do see it in contemporaries. A lot of times where I see it in contemporaries is where you have like the will storyline, where it's like, oh, somebody wrote in your will that you had to be married in order to inherit such and such. I'm not a lawyer, pretty sure that's not legal in like real world, but in romance land totally works. It does make it a little less believable for me in contemporaries. I think part of it is that like women have a lot more options in contemporary society, so marriage of convenience feels more forced and unnatural. One of the things I like about this genre is that, or this trope, one of the things that I really like about this trope is a lot of times you have people in here who are forced to come together as a couple without that love like starting. It has a lot of those like starting their relationship, so it has a lot of the same characteristics you might see in something like an enemies to lovers, a friends to lovers even, but for whatever reason this works better for me. But there is something that's extra strong and powerful in seeing a story like this where they're coming together as a couple and battling something, whether it be internal conflict, external, some combination of the two. I mean, one of the things I love about romance is seeing two people come together and that relationship and bond grow, and that is just all over the place in these kinds of stories. So I have 4 marriage of convenience books to talk about, and the first one, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't particularly like, but I feel like is a good example of a very traditional contemporary marriage of convenience story. That is The Marriage Bargain by Jennifer Probst. And that is the kind of story where you totally have the whole will thing. I read that a few years ago, so I don't remember a bunch about it, but it is a contemporary romance. And then another contemporary, which this one I like a lot better and I would like to reread, is Nobody's Baby But Mine by Susan Elizabeth Phillips. And that one is a slightly different take on it because it's not necessarily like a marriage, but I would still classify it similarly. The heroine wants to have a baby, and she wants her baby to be like dumber So she's incredibly intelligent and feels that that has been like a disservice to her, so she actively seeks out a guy who she believes is dumb. He's a football player, and basically wants him to like father her baby so that her baby has a better shot of being like of average intelligence. So it is still sort of in the marriage of convenience trope. It's just not a traditional like marriage straightforward story. I have 2 historical recommendations. The first one will probably come as no surprise, and is Devil in Winter by Lisa Kleypas. This is the 3rd book in the Wallflower series, which I do have a series review of, and this is a very like straightforward marriage of convenience story in my opinion. So like it's a good example of one. So like the heroine is trying to escape a difficult family situation. She approaches the hero who kind of needs to get married, like he needs money and everything, and she's like, hey, I have something you need and you have something I need. I need to be my own woman, and the only way to do that is to be married to somebody who I know isn't going to like lord things over me. You can have my money if you do that. So it's just like a cold bargain kind of a thing, but it is a beautiful story, and as an aside, it's a wonderful rendition of the reformed rake trope as well. And the last one is The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare, and this is a similar story where it benefits both of them to get married and kind of make a decision they wouldn't normally make. So those are some marriage of convenience books I have read and liked or didn't like, and I will also leave a link down in the description below to like a Goodreads list of marriage of convenience stories in case you want to check it out. It has like contemporaries and historicals, if so, depending on which you prefer. So let me know if you like this trope, if you don't like it, what you do or don't like about it, if you have any book recommendations for it, especially for me, for contemporaries. If you have contemporaries you feel like worked, feel free to leave those. I would love to give them a read. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next month with another tropes video. Bye!